Joe, evening. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Joe? How's things, Joe? Yeah. Kerry, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? What's up, Miles? What's up, CMF? Good to see you, brother. How you been? Hello, Miles. Joe, T. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good, thank you, Miles. Feeling better, a lot more better. I'll be honest than since what I was. I was incredibly, I don't know what was wrong with me, to be fairly honest. Good evening, Miles, and all CMF. JP, good to see you. How you doing, brother? How you been? Hi, Miles. Thank God Trump won. Let's go, G. I agree 100%. Thank God Trump won. And right now, Trump is putting on. So what's on the news right now is tariffs. He's putting tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, to be fairly honest. And that has impacted the market space just a little bit. The moment the tariff news came out, market dipped slightly, but we'll be back up again essentially on Monday or by tomorrow. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Free and Fabric. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? And today we do have a mixture of news to go through, regarding Bitcoin and USDT, and essentially Wall Street. Something quite major is happening in Wall Street that no one ever saw coming, but there's a genuine reason behind it, which I think why it's happening. Essentially, there's something happening in Wall Street, which we're going to go through on tonight's live. Lee, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Dennis, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? I'm Miles and CMF. Let's go. Evening, Lee, as well. Free and Fabric, good to see you. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Let's go. Maybe you were feeling sick because the market was tanking. Maybe I was feeling sick because the market was tanking. So, genuine, but no, I'm still feeling a bit slightly off. I don't know. I think I'm having some sort of issues that I might need to see a doctor at one point. But for the time being, still breathing and kicking. Miles, can XDC reach a $200 or nay? Can XDC reach $200 under the correct rules and regulations and the adoption happening? Yes, it can. The sky's the limit. Obviously not financial advice, but the sky's the limit. I'm hearing rumors we will go to tariff-based country instead of a tax-based country. I don't know how real these rules are. Okay, regarding Trump and his tariff policies, it's not that Trump is doing this in any sort of a way out of spite. I'm not saying you're saying this in any sort of a way, but the rumors that are going around that that the US is going to become a tariff-based country instead of a tax-based country is just that. Okay, the easiest way to put it is Trump is getting every country to do what they want in favor of the US by opposing tariffs on them. So a while ago, essentially under Biden's administration of circus weeks, Biden was making the US incredibly weak, and everybody was getting away with everything they wanted, and the world became some delusional place under Biden's authority or Biden's administration authority. And the world became just some delusional place where there was no freedom of speech, everything was censored, and a lot of things were happening that shouldn't have happened. Now, with Trump coming into power, obviously he wants to, change the world and put it back on the correct path. Now, how do you pressure countries to go towards the correct path once again? It's by opposing tariffs on them. And if they don't listen, the tariffs get essentially higher and higher and higher. If they listen, the tariffs get lowered and the world goes back on the correct path, pretty much. So Trump is actually using tariffs as a tactic to put the world back on the correct path, to make countries listen that this is the correct way to do this and not this. So that's the only way he's raising tariffs, because he wants certain countries to do certain things. And if they don't do it, well, the tariffs get increased. So it's just pressure. We're getting some weird people coming in. Okay. When we will have when we will have one episode of just XRP news only. When we will have just one episode of XRP news only. I think soon, I'll be honest, because very soon this case is going to get dismissed or dropped, and we're going to have XRP ETFs. I mean, the final nail was basically Grayscale applying for an XRP ETF, because everybody knows that Grayscale doesn't mess about. You know, they want that XRP ETF, and if they don't get it, they'll sue the SEC, which is the last thing the SEC wants, because the SEC is showing themselves as a positive, you know, compared to what Gary Gensler was doing. But soon, regarding just into XRP news, it's too early to take some profits. I know how long you think till we can take profits when the markets it is definitely too early to take profits, and we're going to go into much more higher movements in terms of the market space, to be fairly honest as well. I mean, what we're seeing now is just very small amounts of push inside the market space. This market is about to turn incredibly bullish as time progresses this year, especially. You know, let's not forget, Trump has signed an executive order to make the United States the capital of cryptocurrencies. And with that is the rules and regulations pretty much afterwards, with essentially the cases getting dropped or dismissed. So a lot of things are still in progress. We're nowhere near profit taking. We're more on the side of regulations, cases getting dropped, and essentially the market taking off bit by bit. Hi, Miles of CMF. George, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Morning, Miles of CMF. Shelly, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and family. Orphan, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Everything will settle down when everybody gets seduction in the row. People are getting very panicky. It's true. Miles, what regulation and adoption does XDC needing? Like, what dates do you think it can happen? XDC needs the exact same regulations in place that projects like XRP need, essentially, for international domestic transactions to be able to happen. Evening, Professor Miles and the CMF crew. Let's go, Funky Brother. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? How are you, brother? I'm doing great, Funky Brother. How you been? How's things? There's a lot of Coolio getting dropped tonight. Just keep an eye out. Yeah, I saw those two have blocked both of them. Now, let's do a breakdown of what we're going to essentially talking about on tonight's live. And let me do the intro and disclaimer as well. So, if you're watching this for the first time ever, this is the CMF Live, and it stands for Crypto Miles Family. And my name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Miles, and I'm the host of this live. And on this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world, completely transforming into a digital space. And we also do Q&As on this live as well, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. And the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and what advice is only for entertainment purposes. Now, let me give you a breakdown of what we're going to be talking about on tonight's live. So these are the news topics we are going to be going through. Let me just give you a small little breakdown. We're going to be talking about USDT and Bitcoin on tonight's live. We're also going to be talking about Wall Street essentially opening up their market space 24/7. Apparently, the stock market is going to become a 24/7 market space, just like crypto is. We're also going to be talking about on tonight's live regarding the matters of Pump.fun, which is basically the #1 website on Solana's essentially ecosystem, where everybody creates their meme coins within under 5 seconds. Pump.fun is now being sued heavily. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding essentially Gemini. Now, the Gemini brothers, obviously, you know, the Gemini exchange, hire most of their essentially graduates from a particular university, essentially, and that one particular university has now rehired Gary Gensler. So I'll explain what I mean more once we get to that news regarding Gemini and Gary Gensler. And once again, Gary Gensler is back in the picture, but not in a way that you think. We're also going to be talking about on tonight's live regarding a blueprint for the crypto market structure, as in what needs to happen essentially for the market space to do a shift towards the correct side now that an executive order has been signed for a few weeks or days, you could say. And there's a perspective coming in from a CEO of the Blockchain Association. We're also going to essentially talk about tonight's live regarding the matters of Grayscale introducing another fund, which in this case is Dogecoin, which is Elon Musk's favorite crypto project. Dogecoin is now getting a Grayscale trust, which eventually will become a Grayscale ETF for Dogecoin. And we're also going to talk about tonight's live regarding France. Now, France is a country that I've been talking for a few nights about now, because the French government essentially has been thinking about introducing some ridiculous policies when it comes to cryptocurrencies in the EU. One of them being essentially taxing people on their crypto assets, even if they don't sell them, which is essentially unrealized essentially profits, and some other things. And I've said for a while that France's economy is doing terrible, and that's why they're thinking about, you know, taxing everybody inside the crypto space, or in this case, even suing Binance. But we're going to talk about the French, essentially the French economy on tonight's live as well, which does impact the EU in general as well, and it impacts the crypto space in a positive way if you really think about it. We're also going to be talking about the United Kingdom on tonight's live as well. The United Kingdom's Treasury is removing certain things from their policies when it comes to cryptocurrencies. And we're going to be talking about tonight's live regarding MicroStrategy. Everybody's very familiar with Michael Saylor, essentially the #1 advocate for Bitcoin, no matter what the price is. MicroStrategy has decided to launch another stock by the essentially ticker of STRK to raise more money from people to buy more Bitcoin. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding Canada. One particular essentially Canadian asset manager has filed in a pioneering essentially spot XRP ETF, which we're going to go through on tonight's live. And we have some information directly from Ripple themselves to go through on tonight's live. So before we go through any of those news topics, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we'll go straight into the first news. The first news being essentially USDT going on the Bitcoin network, which could be a sense of desperation in a sense. And I just want to say just take a second just to say thank you so much to everybody who's liked this live on X, because I'm getting notifications. Thanks so much to everyone who's liked this live on X, who's retweeted this live on X, who's put a comment outside the live on X, hashtagging XRP only, hashtagging XRP in general. And thank you so much to everyone on YouTube who's watching this live, who's also liked the live as well. So before we go for the USDT and Bitcoin news, let's go to the comment section first. Let's see what's going on there, and then we'll go straight into that news. There's a lot of, there is. When you think the bull run is in flow or flow, it's right now slowly in flow. Miles, I just read that XRP are doing 434 billion daily transactions. Where? On XRP or on a tweet? Is XDC adoption 2020? Where did you read that from, brother? Is it a random tweet or is it from Ripple themselves? Is XDC adoption 2025 to 2026? Yes, it is going to be starting this year on the regulations. When is Black Swan? Black Swan is just an outcome to consider, not the outcome, is what I would say. From MIT, yeah, pretty much. From Gary Gensler, yeah. Miles, which exchange offer stocks plus crypto on the same exchange in the UK? eToro. eToro is a platform that offers crypto and stocks on the same app. You can check it out if you want to. Miles, the audio is a few seconds out again. I don't know why the audio is a few seconds out, so I'll be honest. I love you. Thank you, Maggie, for the kind words. Now, first news on tonight's live. USDT. USDT on Bitcoin Lightning Network is what's happening right now. This is pretty much an attempt for Tether to stay relevant, even though they're being pushed out of a few market spaces around the world, one of the biggest so far being the EU market space on the MiC regulations. So here it is. Tether, essentially, Tether transformative essentially partnership with the Bitcoin blockchain and Lightning Network will fundamentally essentially alter the digital currency landscape by integrating the stability of USDT, the world's largest stablecoin, with essentially Bitcoin's robust and scalable infrastructure. This monumental essential collaboration promises to revolutionize how value is stored and exchanged globally. USDT and Bitcoin being intertwined together is what essentially Tether is trying to do to still be relevant as time progresses. While stablecoins like USDT have primarily essentially functioned through intermediary platforms, Tether's decision to bring its flagship stablecoin directly to Bitcoin's decentralized essentially base layer will drive essentially adoption and liquidity. As CoinDesk articulated, this essentially watershed moment is primed to catalyze the immense activity essentially across ever-expanding Bitcoin ecosystem. With USDT now essentially accessible on Bitcoin's resilient network, possibilities abound for widespread essentially adoption, widespread essentially applications and cross-border payments, internal remittances, and institutional savings. The Taproot essentially asset protocol developed by Lightning Labs enables frictionless integrations between Bitcoin's base layer and the Lightning network. This functionality is the issuance and transfer of assets on Bitcoin through the seamless functionality of Lightning Network. Combining USDT with Bitcoin marries the security and decentralization of Bitcoin to the Lightning speed and scalability. Emphasized Emily Storks, CEO of Lightning Labs, essentially said the interaction between Bitcoin and Lightning through Taproot assets allows for increased transactional efficiencies via faster, low-cost essentially payments, and this addresses the soaring demand and scalable digital solutions to transfer value efficiently. At the Plan B essentially forum in El Salvador, Tether's chief executive made it very clear and said, by empowering USDT on the Lightning Network, we have reinforced essentially Bitcoin's fundamental principles and forged practical options for physical use and demanding both velocity and trust. This integration promises functional essentially answers for valuable exchanges and instrumentals and essentially other economic applications requiring swiftness and steadiness, yet essentially coherently concerns remain regarding crypto's electricity usage and valuation. Tether's integration of USDT into Bitcoin's base layer and the Lightning Network signifies essentially a monumental step forward in the evolution of cryptocurrencies. By meddling the strengths essentially of these separate platforms, this union essentially enhances transaction efficiency, velocity, and reliability, paving the way for a broader adoption and innovation in the use of digital assets and the financial applications. As society progresses essentially deeper into the digital age, alliances such as these will play an internal role in shaping the future of digital finance. USDT on Bitcoin's network, is that a great idea? No, it's definitely not a great idea in any sort of a way. Bitcoin essentially, is going to survive pretty much anything that's is thrown at it, but USDT is trying their best to stay relevant in some sort of a way, and this is their final attempt to be intertwined onto the Bitcoin network to be used for payments. Bitcoin's network can't handle NFTs. And how we know this is because Binance tried to do NFTs on Bitcoin's network and they, completely dropped the whole program after a month. So it's an interesting way for Tether to stay relevant, make Bitcoin's network even slower than it already is. Now, moving on essentially from USDT's pathetic attempt to stay relative to Wall Street. Something that no one pretty much saw coming for the longest time is that Wall Street is now going to slowly become, by the looks of it, open 24/7 is what's happening right now. Wall Street is going to become open 24/7, just like the crypto space. So they're saying essentially this is bad for Bitcoin and the US economy if Wall Street is open 24/7, but it is a topic that is being discussed right now. So here it is. Wall Street is rewriting the rules, and not everyone is excited about it. Plans are reportedly underway to start essentially the stock market hours near 24/7 trading. While that sounds like a good idea for essentially this offer and the other night, essentially I was glued to trading apps, it spells bad news for Bitcoin and potentially for the US economy. In my point of view, it doesn't, but let's just see the point of view that's coming out. The New York Stock Exchange, which is the largest and most influential essentially stock market in the world, wants to extend its hours from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. from the 4 a.m. to the 8 p.m. to a longer start of 1:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Already in essentially 2024, the SEC approved 24 Exchange, essentially a Bermuda-based group funded by billionaire hedge fund manager Steve. They plan to offer nearly continuous trading for stocks, leaving just 1 hour of downtime each day for system updates. Robinhood's essentially late night trading spike on Monday during DeepSeek's essentially short-lived rise, which triggered the highest essentially volume essentially of sellouts happening, the platform's overnight session, second only to the US presidential election. For Robinhood, this isn't new. They've been essentially offering overnight trading for the past 18 months. But the fact that this session ranked essentially so high shows how deep the appetite for around-the-clock trading it is. Retail investors, once known for essentially checking their portfolios during lunch breaks, are now going to be trading Amazon and Tesla at midnight from their couches. We're using essentially trading apps as easily as we shop online. The pandemic helped create this behavior after our hero after the roaring kitty situation. But when the world was locked down, essentially, we found trading stocks as entertaining as binge watching Netflix. And then we found out essentially live streams were essentially, he kept talking about the markets and how the markets can be going higher and higher. But so even after we got off essentially of school or work, many were struck essentially with the hours of trading that Robinhood gave the tools to people. It's an interesting factor that essentially Wall Street is thinking about doing 24/7 when it comes to the stock market, because that's just something that's only been available for the crypto market space, where anybody can trade any asset they want any time of the day. And meanwhile, Charles Schwab's has also jumped in, offering overnight trading to its most active clients. Charles Schwab's clients can now trade over 500 stocks and ETFs after hours, up from just 24 ETFs before. This is making Wall Street rethink everything. When does essentially a trading day officially begin and end if markets are always open? What will the closing price of a stock mean when there is no clear at the end of the day? Asset managers like BlackRock, who is actually also a Bitcoin whale, will also worry about waking up to margin calls essentially in the middle of the night in terms of price swings. Historically, US stock markets stuck to traditional business hours. Even in the early days of informal trading in Manhattan, coffee houses, essentially, they were clearer of opening and closing bells. But crypto never followed these rules. Bitcoin always on trading environment changed the game forever. That's why essentially Wall Street's move to non-stop trading will steal Bitcoin's thunder. Investors who used to see Bitcoin as a 24/7 alternative might now choose Apple or Tesla instead. Do you know what this is going to do? It is true, because investors now that see essentially Bitcoin as the alternative, 24/7 trading they can do on Bitcoin no matter what. Now, if Wall Street becomes 24/7, that means essentially the rest of the world will follow Wall Street's footsteps and the stock market will become 24/7. But what is also going to be happening to the stock market? The stock market is going to get tokenized, which means the only reason that the stock market is going to become 24 hours is because the stock market is about to get tokenized. Now, is the stock market going to get tokenized on Bitcoin? Hell no. Not in a million years, because Bitcoin is too slow for any of that. So Wall Street essentially becoming open 24 hours, that means all the stocks are about to get tokenized. And if stocks are about to get tokenized, that means a few crypto assets are going to, bring in the profits essentially. And this is going to end very bad for Bitcoin if Wall Street is essentially open 24 hours. But it's going to be very positive for crypto projects that are going to tokenize the stock market. You see where this is going? It feels much safer going to bed with Tesla or essentially Nevada than BTC. I would like to take a lot, like a full-blown financial crisis or a company filing for bankruptcy, for those stocks to lose 15% essentially of their value overnight. Can we say the same about Bitcoin? The dollar already trades 24/7, and futures contracts tied to the S&P 500 are traded across the globe time zones, from Tokyo mornings to European afternoons, with stocks set to essentially join the mix. Bitcoin's exclusivity essentially as a round-the-clock market is slipping away right before our very eyes. But there's also a dark side to this. A non-stop market makes price swings happen quite more often. Global events can hit instantly. Political chaos in Asia, or tech essentially announcements in Silicon Valley, or some electronic billionaire's tweet at midnight can flip prices in seconds. And things get wilder during weekends or late night hours when these less trading volumes. In the continuous trading world, essentially in the continuous trading world, there is no time for markets to digest anything. Investors hit the panic button or the buy button right away, and the prices across both stocks and Bitcoin could essentially whiplash more than ever. Think about it. Crypto traders love the flexibility of trading anytime, anywhere. But if the stocks offer the same flexibility, some of essentially these traders could switch sides. Retail investors who've grown essentially accustomed to Bitcoin's 24/7 lifestyle might test the waters in round-the-clock stock market. And if they find it less nerve-wracking, Bitcoin could lose part of its fan base. Implications for the US economy. The proposed 24/7 trading could make US markets way more attractive to foreign investors. Think about it. Someone in Tokyo or Dubai's traditional US market hours aren't exactly convenient for them. Now, with the round-the-clock access to the stock market, they can jump in whenever they want. This could open the floodgates for foreign money pouring into the US economy, making Wall Street an even bigger player in the global economy when it becomes 24 hours. And of course, higher stakes. That means that if something like DeepSeek that just came out and happens again, and the markets lose trillions of dollars again, it will be felt everywhere. And the crash will be much faster and much bigger. Also, regulatory bodies like the SEC will have to work overtime too, making sure that these markets are not being manipulated 24/7, which is going to be a lot more harder as it goes on. Lower liquidity essentially during off hours is prime time for market manipulation. With fewer players in the game, it's easier for bad actors to push prices essentially around, creating opportunities for pump and dump schemes and all kinds of other shady behavior, which essentially spill over to the stock market as they normally essentially do in the crypto markets. Economic indicators used to be digested slowly. You'd get a report at 8:30 a.m. and markets would adjust after the opening bell. But 24/7 trading, that could change. Now, news from any corner of the world could trigger immediate reactions in the stock market, crypto, and even bonds at any hour. The markets won't sleep, and neither will the traders essentially trying to keep up. It's actually that it's actually could be a dystopia, and at the point that there is no stopping it. That is crazy. If the stock market does become 24 hours trading, is an indication of tokenization, because there's no way that the stock market is going to become 24 hours as it is right now. But if the stock market becomes tokenized, then 24 hours makes sense. Yes, the SEC will have to work overtime in case of manipulation scenarios, or the CFTC in case of manipulation scenarios, but it is going to bring a lot more wealth into America, because it is some great points out there. For example, someone in Dubai or someone in Tokyo, if they want to buy American shares, then they have to be essentially awake at American times for the stock market. But if the American stock market is the only market in the world that's 24 hours, that means somebody from Dubai or somebody essentially a high-profile investor from the Middle East or essentially Asian countries can just invest into the market space from anywhere around the world. And this wouldn't be so great for assets like Bitcoin in any sort of way, but it would be great for assets essentially that are, the ones that are going to be tokenized in the market space. So XRP is going to be playing a role in tokenization, and it's an American company. American companies in general, blockchain American companies, are going to be the ones that tokenize the US stock market when that essentially happens. So projects like XRP are going to be the ones that, going to be tokenizing a part of that or all of that when it comes to the stock market. So basically means the appeal of Bitcoin being a 24/7 market space is going to die away, whereas the stock market become 24 hours and tokenized, certain crypto projects are going to benefit a lot from that. It's an interesting play. Very interesting play. Never happened before, never seen before. But if it does, it's going to bring a lot of inflow coming in, for a lot of capital flowing into the American market space, without a doubt. Now, that's the first time I'm ever hearing about it. The stock market actually considering to go 24/7, just like the crypto markets. But it only makes sense, in my opinion, if they tokenize the market space. And I think that's where the whole scenario is coming out of, because they want to tokenize, and if they tokenize it, then it makes sense to go 24/7. But let's see. But yeah, it is true that won't be very good for Bitcoin, but other assets it will be for. It will be very good for other assets, especially American blockchain companies. Let's see. Before we go through the next news, let's go inside the comment section first. This is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the next news afterwards. And what does everybody think about Wall Street becoming 24 hours? Let me see what's going on. Can XDC perform better than XLM? Can XDC perform better than XLM? I think they'll perform as well as good as each other. Hello, Miles and CMF. Glenda, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Mav, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles and CMF. Stormy, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. Richard, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Seattle security should be in jail. Naked shorting needs to have a higher fine. I agree, Linda. I agree. Good to see you as well, Linda. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Bull XRP. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? New York Stock Exchange can go 24/7 if they want, but they are not exchanging crypto assets. They are going to get left behind. Let's go, Stormy. Wall Street crypto. If you can't beat them, you have to join them. Pretty much. Facts. I think Ondo will be tokenized in the stock market. If Ondo tokenizes the stock market, it's an interesting play because Ondo is still on. Ondo is also on the XRP ledger, which will benefit the XRP ledger in the long term as well. But also, Ripple has talked about tokenization for the longest time. The XRP ledger is going to be a key player in tokenization, and Ripple has a lot of sit downs with President Trump also, and Ripple has a license to operate in New York also. From the Financial Department Services. The Financial Department Services of New York also did a speech at the Ripple Swell event in Miami. It's all an interesting play, I'll be honest. Even Miles and CMF, good to see you as well. How you doing, M? But if you do that Ondo as well, it's on the XRP ledger, still works out. Even Miles and CMF, Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Chainlink, Ondo, Cardano, all partners of XRP who will be tokenizing stocks and real estate. I agree. Good day, Miles. Mike, good to see you. So how you doing? Thank you, brother. I agree. JP, let's go. Greetings, Miles and CMF. Happy Friday, everyone. Let's go, Ray. How you doing? Will be put on stock market. Will it be put on stock market? We'll have to see. It basically means that there will be more regulations and transparency, and that means more adoption. Facts. It definitely does. What does anyone think XRP will be by June? Is what I would say is considerable change. Mouse will coin like Chainlink and Avalanche after bull run come down in prices or not? Well, projects like Chainlink and Avalanche come down after the bull market. Depends how much far along they've won in terms of the adoption rate. When regulations and adoption, do you think XDC can get to 4 digits? The sky's the limit under the correct rules and regulations, to be fairly honest. Good evening, brother Miles and CMF. Free XRP, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. What is your 3 top for tokenizing? Mickey, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? For tokenization, XRP will definitely do great in tokenization, in my opinion. Ondo will do good. It will do good as well because they've been tokenized on BlackRock for the longest time. Not tokenizing BlackRock itself, but tokenizing on essentially their fund, their build platform. But anyways, XRP, Ondo will do well. AVAX will do well in tokenizations. HBAR will do well in tokenizations. Cardano can do well in tokenizations. XLM could do well in tokenizations. There's a few projects out there that will do very well in tokenizations, but I feel like XRP will play a very big role in tokenization also. They have talked about it quite a lot, and they have licensing to be able to do that. Hello, Miles and CMF. Juno's good to see you. How you doing? How you been? But Ondo will also play a very good role. So will Cardano. So will AVAX. So will HBAR. Now, what we're going to talk about next is, moving on essentially from the stock market becoming 24 hours, which is an interesting play. But Pump.fun is what we're going to talk about next. Now, I'm not really one for meme coins, and I always tell people, you shouldn't be wasting your money because buying meme coins is like buying lottery tickets. It either your numbers will come through or your numbers won't come through when it comes to meme coins. Now, one platform that is taking the ranks by the storm is Pump.fun. I'm guessing a lot of people who use Solana's network, or if you don't use Solana's network, you've heard about it before, where a lot of people do rug pulls on Pump.fun. Well, Pump.fun is about to be sued right now because for unregistered securities. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, is this the SEC going around suing crypto projects again for unregistered securities? In this sense, no. It's actually people who have been scammed by Pump.fun who are suing Pump.fun now. So here it is. Solana's based meme coin creation platform, Pump.fun, being hit with a proposed class action lawsuit accusing it for violating US securities laws. Now, by the way, Solana's only use case in this scenario is meme coins. So if meme coins go away, Solana's pretty much doomed. The suit filed essentially on January 30th alleges that every token created essentially through Pump.fun constitutes as an unregistered security from which the platform has profited nearly $500 million in fees from. The lead plaintiff, essentially Diego, claims to have suffered financial losses trading 3 specific, essentially Pump.fun created meme coins by the name of FWOG, and Fred and Griffin. According to the filings, these tokens were aggressively marketed using meme coin culture and promises of returns, enticing investors, but ultimately leading to significant financial losses. FWOG, for instance, was promoted as having reached $500 million market cap before its value dropped to pretty much zero. Pump.fun's core function is to work alongside influencers to co-issue a market, essentially, of unregistered securities, inherent to its operations a novel evolution in Ponzi and pump and dump, essentially, schemes. Although the platform does not directly create the tokens in question, they argue is that if this is the organizations that helps people launch their own pump and dump schemes and allowing users to create and sell digital assets within minutes. According to the lawsuit, it makes the company a joint issuer of all tokens launched on it. The case names the UK's registered Baton Corporations, the alleged operator of Pump.fun, and three of its co-founders, essentially, Alon Cohen, Dylan, and Noah, as the defendants. The plaintiffs are seeking essentially legal relief in the form of all token purchases, monetary damages for affected investors, and coverage of litigation costs. This is not the first time the platform has faced legal actions. Just 2 weeks earlier, it was facing more legal actions of more people losing huge amounts of money, of more celebrity tokens. That's also the case with Baton, essentially, corporations, as executives are selling unregistered securities, especially targeted the multiple Solana-based meme coins like Frog Token and Cat Token and so on. The firm's founder, essentially Max, has been vocal in his criticism of such sites. On January 15th, he publicly condemned them as the ultimate evolution of multi-level marketing scams, preying on human desperation and on digital attention economy. A later day, essentially, Burek Law formally announced its legal campaign against the company, alleging the investors had fallen into meme coin rug pulls and misleading promises. Pump.fun is also facing controversy following its November 2024 introduction of live stream, essentially, function to enhance user engagements. Some users quickly abused the feature to broadcast explicit and distributing content. Essentially, following public backlash, the company was forced to shut down live streams, leading to market drops in revenue. So, Solano's only way of making an income, to be fairly honest, Solana has only been good for one thing: meme coins. And if meme coin culture dies out in some sort of a way, then so does Solana eventually. And Pump.fun is one big player in Solana's blockchain. And it is being sued by a multitude of people who have lost quite a lot of money. Some have lost life-saving money in essentially meme coin section of crypto space. Now, is it Pump.fun's fault? In a sense, yes. But it's also the people's fault. This is why I tell people that you shouldn't be buying essentially meme coins because they have no utility purpose whatsoever, which means you're either going to be the one holding the bag or the one profiting from it. And in some way, whenever you hear the news of anybody, earning anything from a meme coin, you always hear about the guy who turns $100 into, $250,000, but nobody ever talks about the guy that puts $100 in and got nothing out of it, because that's not an interesting story. But you'll hear about the 4 or 5 people that put $100 in and got $1 million out. So I've said, if you're somebody inside, please stay away from meme coins. It's not financial advice in any sort of way. Just entertainment purposes only was what I'm saying. But you're going to end up suing them, and then you're going to get nothing out of it, is what I'm trying to say. Meme coins are like lottery numbers. The same way you buy a lottery ticket is like buying a meme coin. If your numbers hit, they hit. If they don't, you lose a lot of money. Now, moving off essentially Solana's only way to make an income, Pump.fun is about to be sued to the ground, to Gemini. Now, everybody thought Gary Gensler is out of the picture. In a sense, Gary Gensler is. He's no longer the SEC chairman, and thank God for that. That is no longer the SEC chairman. But Gary Gensler was promised a job at a much more higher profile seat, which he never got, because obviously Trump became president of the United States, and thank God Trump became president of the United States. But Gary Gensler got his previous job back at MIT, where he's now teaching blockchain once again. The man went from essentially teaching blockchain to suing blockchain to now back to teaching blockchain. He's the only man that never went forward in life and instead took 2 steps back. And there is certain blockchain companies that hire graduates, essentially from Harvard, for example, or Oxford University, or Cambridge University, or in this case, MIT. One of those companies is a blockchain company that hires only graduates from MIT. And Gary Gensler is the one that's going to be teaching these students the future of essentially blockchain. And these students will eventually get jobs in blockchain companies. And one of those companies being Gemini. Gemini is not too happy about this. It's a massive blockchain company. And they said they're going to withdraw their applications and never hire anyone from this particular university because they hired Gary Gensler. So it looks like Gary Gensler can't catch a break. He was completely embarrassed as being the chairman of the SEC. A particular member of Congress once said they can't wait to put Gary Gensler in the bin. Just to point that out. Gary Gensler, by the looks of it, can't catch a break, but he did do quite a lot of damage to the crypto space. But it seems like it's going to haunt him for the rest of his life. And well, here it is. Cryptocurrency exchange Gemini has announced that it will no longer essentially hire graduates from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, after the university rehired former US SEC chairman Gary Gensler as a professor to teach students about blockchain. The Tyler, essentially, brothers, co-founder of Gemini, announced essentially on a post that as long as MIT has any association with Gary Gensler, Gemini will not hire any graduates from this particular school, not even interns for our summer intern program. MIT recently confirmed that Gary Gensler will return to its Sloan School of Management as a professor of practice in the global economy of essentially management groups and finance groups. He will essentially be the co-director of fintech AI programs at the university's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. His return to MIT has drawn criticism from several essentially figures inside the crypto industry. Devin Walsh, a essentially MIT graduate and executive director of Uniswap, has described the university's decision as an incredibly embarrassing and disappointing, and suggested that the students studying financial technology will not benefit from this program of Gary Gensler being a professor. This man is the one who essentially, this man is the man who created Uniswap, and he attended the same university. MIT has produced essentially significant figures in cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin Foundation co-founder Patrick and former FTX CEO Sam Beckman. MIT essentially have founded at least 54 crypto-related projects in the United States, which is ridiculous. 54 crypto CEOs have came from this essentially particular university. Gemini's decision follows a broader trend of crypto firms distancing themselves from institutions linked to regulators influencing US crypto policies. This was emphasized by first Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. Essentially, he made a statement a while ago that said that law firms should not be hiring SEC essentially commissioners that were against crypto companies. Otherwise, Coinbase will not be hiring those law firms in any sort of a way. But it seems like this whole situation about Gary Gensler is going to follow him to his grave by the looks of it. And he's always going to be known as that guy who stopped innovation inside the United States, and no matter what. Gary Gensler is better off getting a job somewhere else, or in a small town where nobody knows his name, or in a different country. But, at the same time, as much as we hate Gary Gensler inside the crypto space, as much as we hate Gary Gensler inside the crypto space, I said this in the past, where I don't know at some point, do I want to shake, honestly, I don't know if I want to shake Gary Gensler's hand, is what I said in the past, or I want to swear at him. Because he is the man that helped reduce the price of certain crypto assets so we can buy at a much more cheaper price for a long time. Because if Gary Gensler didn't exist, and Gary Gensler essentially wasn't, stopping XRP for the longest time, none of us could have brought XRP this cheap for this long. And a lot of people who are holding XRP right now, huge amounts of XRP, the only reason you're holding huge amounts of XRP that you brought at a cheap price was because of Gary Gensler. So at one point, I don't know, if we want to shake Gary Gensler's hand or swear at him, or is it because he kept up the facade for too long, keep on suing Ripple back to back. But it's true, we don't know if we want to shake Gary Gensler's hand or swear at him, because he did help us buy XRP at an incredibly low price for a very long time. That's the only reason some of us have some huge bags in XRP, is because of that man. So I think we could, let it go regarding Gary Gensler. Let the guy, keep his job and do what he wants. Because in a sense, he helped out the retail section so we can buy it cheaper. Sure, Gary Gensler was the #1 enemy for blockchain companies, but it did help the retail section buy XRP for a very cheap price. If you think about it. He was bad for companies, but he was good for the retail section. So it goes both ways. But the next thing we're going to be talking about, because honestly, blockchain companies hated him, but the retail section, we got discounts because of Gary Gensler. If you really think about it, not all heroes wear capes. Because of that man, we got discounts and discounts and discounts in the retail section because of Gary Gensler. But the companies didn't like him because he was slowing down their innovation. For the retail section. Now, moving on essentially from Gary Gensler not even being able to get a job because of his past, to essentially blueprint of crypto structure. So now that essentially Trump has signed an executive order, for a few days now, he signed an executive order. We know America is going to become the capital of cryptocurrencies no matter what. What is the blueprint? What is this, footstep we're going to be taking into this America become the capital of cryptocurrencies? Well, I have something to read out to you from an interview with the CEO of Blockchain Association inside the United States. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's see what's going on inside the comment section, and then we go straight into the next news. Okay, let's see where we were at. We were at here. I think it was. Yeah. And good evening, brother Miles and CMF. Free XRP. Good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. What's your top 3 for tokenized RSL? Junos, Miles, and Junos. Good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Pierce, even Miles and CMF, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hey Miles, hope you're well. Yama, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? I'm doing great. How you been? Trump took the federal funding away from MIT, but I think he's going to give it back. Lol. Funky brother, I hope this statement from Gemini reaches the MIT and they also fire Gary from his post. Gary the Weasel deserves everything he gets coming to him. Pure karma. Your favorite Miles, and there was one Gary. Yeah, there was always one Gary. Yeah, put Gary and Gensler in the bin. True facts. You're such a good person. Thanks for keeping us in line. Let's go, G. Miles, what is a large bag of XRP starting from? Look, whatever you are holding is perfectly fine, is what I can say. Hi from Malaysia. Shakira, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Elizabeth told him what to do. Hi, just follow orders. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, Elizabeth Warren should be the one, essentially. Miles, I don't agree with you because of Gary's XRP price has been very low. Otherwise, it could have been like BTC's 100,000. I understand. Obviously, I understand. But it did help us, get quite a lot of XRP for discount price. But anyways, putting that to the side. Hi, Miles and family. Alex, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? I heard Gensler applied to work for CoinMove. Gary Gensler working for CoinMove. That should be interesting. Stupid, stubborn Gary Gensler has been suing XRP for years. He has. And I'm not saying he did the right thing in any sort of a way. What I'm saying is, from every bad thing, always look at the positive. That's what I'm trying to say. From everything bad that happens around you, always look towards the positive. I hold 100 XRP of this stuff. That's a good amount, employees. Hold that until the last. As long as you hold it for a long period of time, when it gets to that stage, you can borrow against it and you'll do very well for yourself. Now, a blueprint for crypto market structure. Christian Smith, CEO of Blockchain Association, outlines the principles to guide legislation and regulations on issues like self-custody, staking, voting, and peer-to-peer transactions on permissionless networks. So as I said, we know that Trump has signed an executive order for cryptocurrencies to become the capital of America, but we don't know still the footsteps that's going to be taken. Now, someone has came out and decided to give their perspectives on this matter, and that person being Christian Smith, the CEO of the Blockchain Association inside the United States. So this is what her perspective is on things that should be playing out for the market space to take that footstep into America becoming that capital of cryptocurrencies. If you ever wanted to know, in terms of bullet points of what should be happening, here it is. After years of fragmented approaches to regulations and legislations, we've reached a moment where clarity is both urgent and achievable. Blockchain Association consensus driven market structures and principles, which represents the perspective of leading companies in the industry, offer a framework for path forward. The market structure essential principles that emerged from this collaborative effort reflect the maturation of this industry and the focus required to intact the meaningful legislations and achieve essentially a smart regulation. The principles tackle 12 key areas. At their core is the recognition that consumer protection and innovation are essentially complementary, not competing priorities. We call for standardization, disclosures, and robust safeguards while ensuring businesses can innovate without essentially undue burdens. This balanced approach essentially extends the custody, where we advocate protecting individuals' right to essentially self-custodies in terms of their assets, while establishing clear frameworks for institutional custody solutions. A crucial element of our framework is the distinction between financial activities and other essentially varied applications of blockchain technology. Smart regulations must focus on genuine financial risk without stifling innovation in non-financial use of this technology. This extends to the treatment of non-custodial software services and smart contracts, which shouldn't face the same regulatory requirements as traditional financial intermediaries when it comes to custody services. The principles also address one of the industry's most pressing challenges, token classification, which is it a security, is it not a security, does it come under essential commodities? We need clearer frameworks for distinguishing between securities and commodities and other digital assets. That is one of the basic rules we need inside the crypto space when it comes to cryptocurrency, so there's no more confusion. The clarity is essential for compliance and growth, particularly essentially as the market matures and new types of tokens are emerging day by day. Our framework recognizes the global nature essentially of digital assets, while emphasizing the strengthening of the US competitiveness. We advocate essentially for reducing friction in cross-border transactions being one of the most vital piece of regulations we need for certain assets to be able to do cross-border payments. Domestic or international basis, we need regulations in that put. Transactions while ensuring US markets remain attractive for investments and innovation. This includes establishing a single secondary trading market essential to enhance liquidity and price discovery. Developer protections from another crucial pillar of blockchain association principles. Open source software developers shouldn't face liability when independent essentially actors misuse their code, which is quite valid, to be fairly honest. It's not about essentially, because certain crypto projects will create certain tools or platforms. And if that platform, gets misused by a user, it's not the platform's fault. There should be essentially some sort of laws in place to protect the platforms, just in case you get a moron who abuses certain parts of crypto assets. This protection is essential for maintaining the innovation that drives our industry forward. Similarly, essentially, we emphasize the importance of network participation, protecting the ability of individuals and institutions to engage in activities like staking, voting, and peer-to-peer transactions on networks. This consensus we've achieved on these principles matters because it signals to Congress and regulators that essentially the industry of cryptocurrencies and blockchain in general has been ready for common sense regulations for a while now. We are not asking for special treatment or regulatory essentially crave outs. Instead, we're proposing clear rules of the road that protect consumers, foster innovation, and ensure US competitiveness in a rapidly evolving global market space. But this window of opportunity won't remain open indefinitely. Market developments and election cycles and global competition create urgency for action. And that means that we have to move a lot more quicker pace for regulations when it comes to cryptocurrencies inside the United States. If we're aiming for that title of cryptocurrency capital. The industry has demonstrated its readiness, essentially, to engage consistently with policymakers. We've shown that we can find common ground on complex issues and that we're committed to responsible, essentially, innovation. For our congressional, essentially, allies, regulators in Washington, D.C., and those newly engaging with these issues, these principles demonstrate, essentially, that the industry is ready for serious, essentially, policy decisions. For industry participants, they represent a shared vision of responsible market structure. For everyone involved, they offer a path forward at a crucial moment for the future of digital assets in the United States. The work of essentially enacting smart regulations and drafting essentially and passing legislations remains ahead. But with clear principles, industry alignments, and growing policy sophistications on both sides, we have unprecedented opportunity to get this right. We have essentially precious few months to get this done. Let's not essentially waste any sort of time and let this moment essentially pass at a much more quicker rate. I agree. Within a few months, essentially by latest quarter two, we should have the regulations coming out from the SEC, from the CFTC, from all this closed door meeting that's happening. Essentially, the SEC has had two closed door meetings so far. The CFTC is going to be having an open, essentially, meeting, talking to the public and be very transparent about what they're going to be bringing to the table when it comes to the CFTC, whereas the SEC is having quite a lot of closed door meetings. But I do agree, within first quarter, latest by second quarter, we should be having a set of rules, essentially regulations, to get this market moving at a much more faster rate, because there are countries that are moving at a much more faster rate right now. Singapore, for example, being one of them. They're moving at an incredible pace when it comes to cryptocurrency adoptions, and Dubai is actually moving. United Arab Emirates, in other words, is moving at an incredible pace, and Hong Kong is moving at an incredible pace. There's a lot of countries, and if America has signed the executive order, which we all saw Trump sign, and they're aiming for the title of cryptocurrency capital, then, as I said previously, the first 100 days is where it counts. And I do believe that Trump is going to move at a faster rate. But I also do believe that Grayscale's new pressure on XRP ETF is definitely going to get this whole case dropped at a much more faster rate, and for ETFs to be happening at a lot more quicker rate as well, especially XRP ETFs. I think so far there's about 7 XRP ETFs, if I'm not mistaken. Newest one being Grayscale. But I agree 100% with the CEO of the Blockchain Association. One of the main rules that we need in terms of laws coming in is for payments, transactions. Because now that the SAP 121 has been removed, which means banks can work with crypto companies. But we still need some regulations in place in terms of not to cross any gray areas, not to go towards any sort of gray areas. Because in terms of domestic or international payments, they need to be there in terms of regulations. I agree with everything she said, essentially, from the Blockchain Association. She's the CEO of Blockchain Association inside the United States. She made some valid points on what regulations need to be in place, and they need to be happening ASAP. And in her point of view, we should be getting all sets of regulations in America within a few months, which means first quarter to second quarter, which means also first 100 days, which is what I said in 2024. Going into a Trump presidency, I said the first 100 days will be a crucial factor. Now, Grayscale is what we're going to talk about next. Now, everybody's heard about the Grayscale XRP ETF filing. Well, now Grayscale has introduced another one, but not an ETF, but a trust. And it's Elon Musk's favorite crypto project, Dogecoin. Dogecoin has now got a Grayscale, essentially, fund. Now, a Grayscale fund essentially means eventually it will become a Grayscale ETF, so become a Grayscale Doge ETF eventually. That's how it all starts. It started with XRP the same way, it started with every other thing the same way as well. So here it is. Grayscale introduces Dogecoin Trust to expand crypto investment options. Grayscale Investments has announced the launch of their Grayscale Dogecoin Trust, aiming to provide accredited investors with direct Dogecoin exposure. This cryptocurrency originated as a meme, but has since gained substantial global traction, especially from Elon Musk. Initially created as a light-hearted alternative to Bitcoin, Dogecoin has evolved into a widely recognized digital asset, partly due to its endorsements from essentially high-profile figures like Elon Musk. It currently ranks as the 8th largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, with valuation nearing essentially $50 billion. Grayscale's establishment in 2013 has a history of offering investment products that provide exposure to various cryptocurrencies. The introduction of Dogecoin essentially aligns with the company's strategy to cater to a growing interest of altcoins beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum. Access limited essentially to accredited investors. The Grayscale Dogecoin Trust is available exclusively to accredited investors, adhering to regulatory guidelines. This approach reflects Grayscale's commitment to offering secure and compliant investment vehicles in evolving digital landscapes and assets. Grayscale's launch of the Dogecoin Trust signifies a notable development in the cryptocurrency investment space, providing accredited investors with a new avenue to gain exposure to one of the market's most talked about assets, and Trust essentially offers accredited investors a streamlined pathway to participate in the evolving landscape of digital assets, highlighting the increasing essentially mainstream acceptance of cryptocurrencies like Dogecoin. Now, I particularly don't hold Dogecoin, but I have said in the past, if you're somebody that wants to, hold some meme coins, not really recommended in any sort of a way. I've always said that if there's going to be any meme coins that's going to be surviving everything thrown at them, it's going to be Dogecoin, Shiba, and Luna C is what I've always said. But I've said because they're being used for, or Shiba is definitely being used for washing, money washing, if you know what I mean. And Bonk is definitely used for money washing. The majority of these large market-based meme coins, they're being used for washing. Because there's a lot of unclean money that needs to be cleaned to enter the crypto space, and uncleaned money will first enter meme coins like that, get cleaned, and enter meme coins like XRP, XLM, AVAX, HBOT, TON, or whatever. But that's how you get, the unclean money cleaned. Now, moving on essentially from Dogecoin getting their green lights as slowly to eventually become an ETF, because it all starts with a Grayscale fund or Grayscale trust, and then it becomes a Grayscale ETF. To France. I've said on this live previously in the past few days that France is cooking up the most ridiculous regulations when it comes to cryptocurrencies, and it could affect the EU in general. The first regulation essentially France decided to cook up was to tax cryptocurrency users even if they don't sell their cryptocurrencies. So if you're holding essentially a particular cryptocurrency project and you make profits on it, France is thinking about essentially taxing you even if you don't sell your crypto assets, but because you're sitting on profits, you're paying taxes. And then France decided to squeeze money out of Binance by suing Binance for having essentially unregistered securities, which is something that Gary Gensler has been trying to swing inside the SEC, but it never worked. And I said this because I said France as an economy is not doing too well. So I said the French government is thinking about, going after people who hold cryptocurrencies, or essentially going after Binance because they need money, they need liquidity. And I said because France is headed towards an economic bubble situation, the same way Germany is, and the majority of the world is, to be fairly honest. So news has finally came out of France. Honest news has finally came out of France, which is this. The French economy ends the year of 2024 on the worrying note with the contraction of 0.1% of its GDP in the fourth quarter. This situation occurs in a particularly tense context, where the public essentially deficit reaches the alarming level of 6% of GDP, placing France among the worst performers of the Eurozone. France was the worst performer of Europe. Now, I'll tell you why this could be a positive for the crypto space, France going on the decline. Because when traditional market spaces aren't doing too well, investors, intelligent investors, will want to hedge against that scenario. So if France is heading towards some sort of economic crisis bubble, then intelligent investors will obviously want to hedge against that. Now, how can they hedge against it? Where can they go? They can go towards gold to hedge against France's essentially scenario of collapse, or they can head towards an alternative market space, crypto. Another thing is that France needs liquidity. If France essentially brings out their regulations at a much more faster rate, or the MIC moves at a much more faster rate, creates that adoption that basis needs, France could maybe get some liquidity pouring in from the crypto side, but not by taxing it, but by getting involved in it. The French economy is essentially at the end of 2024 had pretty much pathetic growth. After a growth of only 0.4% in the third quarter, for example, of their GDP, contracted by the 0.1% in the last 3 months of the year, according to the data that came out. This decline coincides with the end of Paris's 2024 Olympics, which had temporarily boosted economic activities. But after the Paris Olympics ended, which was a complete disaster, to be fairly honest, regarding the Paris Olympics, and warning signals are multiplying. Household consumption essentially is slowing down, dropping from an increase of 0.6% to just 0.4% this quarter. On the business side, investment is at a standstill, where essentially, while at households decreased by 0.3%. This situation reflects a climate of widespread, essentially, mistrust, amplified by the political crisis the country has faced since, essentially, of the National Assembly in June. The business world is sounding the alarm right now because France isn't the only country going towards an economic bubble crisis situation. Now, as I said previously, an economic bubble crisis for a lot of countries essentially is very close. So think of it as like economic bubble crisis, and it's just skimming them. Every country is pretty much borderline going past their economic crisis situation right now. And if the numbers come out the other way, then they're going to go straight into the economic bubble crisis, which will essentially be a 2008 situation on certain countries. And if that does happen, before that happens, they'll probably price that scenario happening, which means people will run towards alternative market spaces like cryptocurrencies, which will make the crypto market boost, while the traditional market space collapses for certain countries, because every country is going towards their economic bubble crisis just by skimming it, literally. The business world essentially is sounding the alarm right now because France is going through some troublesome time. Bernard, essentially the CEO of LVMH, denounces excessive, essentially, taxations that pushes companies to invest, essentially, outside of France. Madoff echoes essentially these concerns, mentioning a real situation that's happening in France, the business climate, and a growing anger among entrepreneurs in France. The situation of the French public finances is becoming particularly worrying, with a deficit reaching of 6% of their GDP, a level that puts France essentially in a delicate position regarding its European partners. And by the way, there are 3 countries holding the EU together. It's France, Germany, and Italy. They're pretty much holding the EU together. If those countries go bankrupt, the EU goes bankrupt in general. The new prime minister, essentially Francis, faces a major challenge with the crucial vote on the 2025 budget scheduled for next week. His government aims to achieve over 50 billion euros in savings to reduce the deficit to 5.4% of their GDP by 2025, a goal that seems increasingly difficult to achieve. The confidence of international investors is eroding in France by the minute, as evidenced by the growing gap between French and German borrowing rates for the last 10 years. Even more worrying is France's rates now exceed those of Spain and Portugal at unprecedented level, situations that illustrates the deterioration that's happening from within France. And the perception of the French, essentially, in the financial market space is looking weakened. In summary, the outlook of the 2025 remains bleak, with expected growth of only 0.5%, well below government's forecast, in the face of a worsening crisis, particularly on the employment front. The Bayrou essentially government will have to find a balance between deficit reductions and support for the economy to avoid an even sharper essentially deterioration of the situation. You know what's adding on top of this? A funny one, actually. What's adding on top of this is Trump. Trump has decided, so Trump is obviously going to be doing the tariffs, which I think is a good way to get countries back on the right path. So everybody saw the news today, where essentially the newest member of the White House, who does speeches right now, she's incredible, by the way. The person that's doing, I forgot her name, but the blonde lady that's doing essentially the speeches at the White House right now and communicating with all the news channels, she's doing an incredible job right now because she puts it as how it is. But here's the thing, what came out today, which is Europe is going to be seeing tariff situations, Mexico seeing tariff situations, Canada is going to get tariffed, and so is China. Now, if Europe gets tariffed, France is going to be in a very difficult position. Germany is going to be very in a difficult position, and so is Italy and the rest of the essentially European countries. But Trump is only doing this because these countries need to essentially pay their fair share. But also, Trump is doing this because he wants the European countries to listen to America. This is how Trump gets the rest of the world to listen to him. And that when he says, we're going to do this, everybody goes, yes, sir. Because the first time Trump came around and he wanted to essentially apply this pressure, COVID happened out of China. And then the markets crashed, and Trump couldn't do as much work as he wanted to do as a president. So this time around, he's taking a different approach, and he's going to be doing heavy footing on the tariffs to get the world to listen to him. Because there's still a lot of people who might be against him right now. One of them being essentially the UK, and the EU is not very fond of him either, but they're scared of him, to be fairly honest. But this is how Trump gets the rest of the world to listen. Did anybody see Trump essentially get interviewed where he was asked, do you think essentially, Canada or Mexico or the EU is going to listen to you, or China is going to listen to you if you tariff them? And Trump said yes, very confidently, because that's the only way he can get these countries to listen to him, to get them back on the right path. And the right path is stop sending money to Ukraine as one of them, because France is so broke, but somehow they have millions and billions still to send to Ukraine. But a lot of people are against Trump's idea of tariffs. I think it's a genius idea to get the world to listen to him. Because the world doesn't want to, if some countries don't want to listen to him, then Trump should tariff them into the ground so they listen to him. Now, I agree with Trump 100%. It's the best way. Because the same way he pulled out of the World Health Organization, I think every country should pull out of the World Health Organization, because the World Health Organization is not there to protect your interests when it comes to health. The World Health Organization is there to damage your health as time progresses, because it's better to make money from you than to fix you, the simplest way to put it. But United Kingdom is what we're going to talk about next. Moving on, essentially, from France's economic crisis situation, if they get tariff, it will become 10 times worse. And also France going towards an economic bubble crisis situation. If any other countries are going through the same scenario, which in this case is Germany, then that essentially means that people will be pricing in that happening. Investors will be pricing that happening. They will go towards alternative assets. Some cases will be gold, some cases will be cryptocurrencies. Now, what we're going to talk about next, moving on from France, is the United Kingdom, is what we're going to talk about next. Before we talk about the United Kingdom, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said, this is live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. This is live. So let's see what's going on inside the comment section, and we go straight into the next news, which is regarding the United Kingdom. Let's see where we were at. We were at here. Thompson, good to see you. How you doing? Hello, everyone. Again, glad to be back with you all. Let's go, Thompson. Today, just brought more of the following coins: Trump, Shiba, Lucy, and Ondo. Let's go, Thompson. Miles, is Paul Atkins coming into the SEC, and when is the lawsuit will come to an end, roughly? The lawsuit should come to an end roughly by Q2, is what I would say. Within the first 100 days, the lawsuit should come to an end, is what I would say. Q1 to Q2. Let's go, Thompson. Dodosh, long time, brother. Hope all is well. And big hello to the CMF. JJ, good to see you as well, brother. How you been? If members of the CMF, if you remember, JJ was in the CMF since the TikTok days. When I was doing TikTok lives about 2 years ago, JJ was inside the TikToks, and now he's on YouTube watching the CMF live. JJ, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been, Dodosh? How's things? Is LTC Litecoin ETF being approved, Miles? Is Litecoin's ETF going to be approved? Yes, I think it's going to be approved. Litecoin's never had any sort of issues when it comes to authorities at all. When it comes to like the SEC and essentially CFTC, any sort of scenarios should be approved. I heard an XRP ETF was filed in Canada. It was, which we're going to go for tonight's live later on as well. Miles, what price can Avalanche be in the bull run? Consider variable change. France started declining after the African countries cut them off and ran out of the country. Yes, it is true. France was abusing essentially, well, not France, to be fairly honest, Macron. And if anybody thought Gary Gensler was pretty much the only weasel about, Macron was a bigger weasel than Gary Gensler, because Macron was abusing essentially their authority over African countries, African nations essentially, by taking their minerals, for example, taking their gold, taking their diamonds, taking anything they can find. And France was kicked out of African countries. And that's when essentially it did show signs of France is going to have some difficulties going forward ahead. But also, it's not that the African nations are benefiting either, because when France got kicked out, China came right through. So now the African countries are being abused by China. They went from kicking out France to now getting abused by Chinese, essentially, businessmen. It's the same scenario, by Chinese government, essentially. It's the same scenario. But that is when France essentially got, economically damaged quite badly. I have more confidence in Shiba and Doge. Sold all my Doge for Shiba, and I do not regret it at all. Ultimately, Shiba has an ecosystem named as Shiborium, while Doge has nothing. Fair enough. Lunacy is reconstructing their systems, and eventually it will get repegged. It's just a matter of time. Both Shiba and Lunacy will shock the crap out of people when they move. It's the only two meme coins that I've been holding for, God knows how long. And I bought them a very long time ago, but the rest of my portfolio is all financial projects and data projects. XRP, XRP. How can do? XRP. How's XRP going to do? Excellent. I've said for the longest time that this is the financial year. This is the institutional year, which means projects that have licensings will do excellent under regulations. One of them being XRP. Now it's an American blockchains only. It will do even better. So XRP will do excellent this year and beyond in general. XRP, XLM, XDC, HBOT, all these projects will do excellent. Any crypto project in the financial category or the American category will do excellent moving forward under regulations. Canada is going to go through a very difficult recession due to these upcoming tariffs. Yes, Canada has no choice but to listen either. And Trump did say they have no choice but to listen either. So they should just listen to Trump. Honestly, going against Trump is a losing battle. And that's what Trump wants to essentially prove to the rest of the world. Trump wants to prove to the rest of the world, if you go against them, it's a losing battle. And he should do that. Because the world is filled with delusional la-la people, la-la land people. And it is. The world is definitely filled with delusional people that need to come back to reality. And Trump is here to bring people back to reality. And if a particular country doesn't want to go through a recession, then maybe start listening to Trump's voice. Is what he wants to do. Trump wants to essentially get the world to listen to him. And he's doing a good job at that. But yeah, Canada, the other thing they have to do is just listen to him, to be fairly honest. But I agree. That's the way it's going to happen until everybody gets their act together and things will ease off. It's true. The moment every country starts listening to Trump's voice and saying, we're going to do this, and everybody goes, okay, then Trump will let go of the tariff situation. He will help that country. If Canada starts listening to Trump, then Trump will help Canada. If the EU starts listening to Trump, then Trump will help the EU. But if they want to go against them, then he will tariff them into the ground. And I agree with Trump. He should be doing that. Because genuinely, the world has been going towards some weird paths right now, and it needs to go back on the correct path. The world needs to go back on the correct path, and Trump is the only one that can put the world back on the correct path. And as long as they don't listen, they'll get tariffed into the ground. If they listen, there will be no more tariffs, and Trump will help their country. But first, putting America first. As he should do. He's an American president. Italy may drop essentially out of who as well. That is true. I've heard about that regarding Italy dropping out as well. Absolutely correct, Miles. No more money laundering for Ukraine. Yes, 100%. The number one thing every country should do right now is stop sending money to Ukraine. I agree. Who knows? Shiba may have an ETF in the near future. It's a possibility. You never know. Yes, I remember. Hi, JJ. Let's go, Shelly. If Uphold brings staking, essentially, if Uphold brings staking back to you, think it's wise to stake your crypto. Flix up, good to see how you doing. Is it wise to stake your cryptocurrencies? Yes, but right now, no. It's not. It's not wise in any sort of way because there's a lot of things happening. There's the regulations happening, and there's essentially the case of XRP getting dismissed or settled within a very short period of time, and essentially, XRP ETFs. The last thing you want is to be staking your crypto assets in a locked period, and then a lot of things happen inside a market space, and you can't touch your assets. So right now, staking is not really recommended. It's not financial advice in any sort of way, but because there's some crucial parts that need to still play out. The case is going to get dropped and dismissed or settled. And then we have XRP ETFs in place. Then we have the regulations in place. And all these things are going to help XRP reach higher price points. And the last thing you want is your XRP stuck in staking. Not saying you're going to be staking your XRP, but in general, certain crypto projects are going to do very well right now due to the regulations moving forward. And you don't want it to be stuck in staking. If you have particular other crypto projects that that won't do very well in this cycle because it's all about institutions, regulations, and adoption and utility, then sure, stake them. But if you hold crypto projects that are going to do well on the regulations, that are going to do well essentially on the utility and adoption and institutions and so on, licensings, then staking would be the worst idea possible. I meant, did the LTC ETF get approved yet, or is it in process? It's in progress. Thompson, you do know Shiba is a joke, right? Yeah, Thompson's aware of that. He's just using that, just to make profits from it and jump into legitimate crypto projects as well. Why is it taking so long for the SEC to file? Why is it taking long for the SEC to file? Is because the SEC first needs to lay in the foundation, essentially, of cryptocurrency regulations. That's what they're focused on right now. But there's a lot of things the SEC needs to do, to be fairly honest. They need to essentially establish some rules of regulations and have some conversations with the CFTC, fix all the random lawsuits that Gary Gensler has been bringing out for all these past years. There's a lot of things the SEC needs to do, but this case is getting dropped ASAP. It's in progress, essentially, because they can't be anti-crypto, because Trump chose Mark to become the acting chairman. Essentially, Trump's administration chose Mark to become the acting chairman of the SEC because he stands for pro-crypto. And Hester appears to be in charge of the crypto task force because she's pro-crypto also. So they're pro-crypto, and they don't want to be sued to look bad as not being pro-crypto. So they're moving at an incredible rate, to be fairly honest. It'll be dropped very soon. Stop sending dollars to Easy as well. Stop sending those to Easy as well. Let's go to Easy. BlackRock already owns BlackRock already owns most of Ukraine. They have all the contracts to rebuild it. If they want to pay for war, let them. BlackRock is going to be essentially building Ukraine. It is true. Ukraine has number 2 gas. When it comes to the gas, Ukraine is ranking number 2. They have an immense amount of gas, and which essentially, obviously, Russia wants a piece of the pie of that. So does BlackRock and a few other big players as well. And look, if they want to pay for it, let BlackRock pay for it. But countries should not be paying for that. If BlackRock wants Ukraine, let BlackRock take Ukraine and let BlackRock fund the war. I agree with that one. But I don't agree with the countries themselves, like, Europe and essentially UK or America or Canada getting pressure to fund Ukraine, which was always happening on the Biden's administration. But if BlackRock wants to fund the war just to get a piece of the action, then let BlackRock do whatever they want. But forget about the other countries funding it. But I agree with you. Why is it taking so long for the SEC to finish the XRP lawsuit? Surely XRP issue would be up there in the top priorities. There must be behind the scene reason. It's a scenario. There's a behind the scene reason essentially for why this is taking so long. It's a scenario, I would have to say without a doubt. But this case is going to get dropped very soon. It's all about timing. Everything in this world happens according to a specific time. When it comes to the corporate sector, when it comes to essentially money or anything that basis, it's all about the time frame. So don't worry, it's en route to be dropped very soon. Absolutely correct. I certainly do plan to utilize some of the profits from Shiba and Luna Seed to acquire more ISO compliant crypto projects. Wish me luck. Let's go, Thompson. Now, but if you want, you can consider a scenario regarding the SEC situation, why they're taking so long. But it's only because they're trying to lay in the foundation. Everything happens to according to a time frame. Now, United Kingdom. The UK has also said that they want to become the capital of cryptocurrencies. Is that going to happen? By the looks of it, the UK is going to be the last country on the list when it comes to cryptocurrency adoption. Honestly, the way things are moving in the UK has some major difficulties going on right now, and it's going to be pretty much, in my opinion, you know, it's going to be the last country on the list to have any sort of crypto adoption, because they're falling behind at an incredible pace. But even though that the UK has some rules when it comes to cryptocurrencies, they're removing one of them. The United Kingdom Treasury has amended regulations to exclude crypto staking from being classified as a collective investment scheme. The adjustment removes strict regulatory requirements previously imposed on staking services. The decision is expected to bring more clarity to crypto firms, exchanges, and DeFi protocols offering staking options. Under the revised framework, crypto staking will no longer fall under the same category as traditional investment schemes. The change reduces the compliance burden for service providers operating in the UK. The amendments enables firms to offer staking options without adhering to regulations typically applied to collective investment vehicles. According to industry experts, the regulatory change procedure benefits for digital assets by building investor trust, even through essentially it does not directly impact retail investors. The cryptocurrency market in the UK has encountered barriers because of unclear, essentially, regulations and unfavorable market conditions. The nation has essentially demonstrated many difficulties when it comes to cryptocurrency regulations, and the UK Conservative Party's government began implementing strategies to essentially make the nation a world leader in cryptocurrency operations. The proposed initiatives essentially encompass both stable coins and regulatory measures and infrastructures and deployments in financial market networks, and they try to apply a lot of things. And now that we have a new party, which is the Labour Party, that's running essentially the United Kingdom, the topic of cryptocurrencies is never been brought up even once. The title of, the London becoming the capital of cryptocurrencies has never been mentioned once either by the Labour Party. And in terms of regulations, we pretty much have none. We have maybe 3 regulations in place in the UK, but they're still aiming for capital of cryptocurrencies. Nobody knows how, because for you to become a capital of a certain subject, in this case cryptocurrencies, you've got to bring up regulations, or you got to sign an executive order the same way essentially Trump did, so everybody gets a clear picture of this is where we're heading. And unfortunately, nobody knows where the UK is heading. Now, MicroStrategy, but I'm hoping they do follow Trump's footsteps ASAP. MicroStrategy launches essentially a preferred stock. Everybody knows MicroStrategy, everybody knows Michael Saylor, and everybody knows MSTR, which was essentially the original, essentially, Bitcoin ETF, you could say, MSTR stock. MicroStrategy eats, breathes, and sleeps Bitcoin. He's the #1 advocate for the cryptocurrency. And he's decided to create another stock by the ticker of STRK to raise more money for investments. And you can guess where his investments are going to go towards. MicroStrategy, MSTR, is introducing preferred stock, STRK, to raise capital. The company plans to sell $2.5 million preferred shares at $100 each, totaling essentially $250 million. Each preferred share can be converted into 1/10 of a class of a common share, making the conversion price $1,000 per common share. Investors will receive an 8% annual dividend based on their liquidation value for a preferred share worth $100. This means an annual earning of $8 paid essentially quarterly as $2 for every 3 months. The dividend is fixed and does not change with stock fluctuations, and MicroStrategy can pay their common stocks or mix of both of them in dividends and not be paid at on time. They accumulate essentially much more later pace. These preferred shares have no maturity date, allowing investors to hold them indefinitely. MicroStrategy cannot force conversions unless the total outstanding preferred stock falls below $62.5 million, which is about 25% of their original issuance. There is no early essentially redemptions options unless tax laws change. And for instance, to raise $2 billion issuing common stocks at $450, it will require 4.4 million essentially shares. In contrast, using preferred stocks at $115 would mean issuing 17.39 essentially million shares, converting to essentially 1.73 million common shares, reducing the dilution to 2.7 million shares. In the most simplest way, MicroStrategy is raising more money to buy a certain asset by creating another stock. I'm guessing, essentially since Microsoft decided not to create a Bitcoin reserve, and since the United States government decided not to create a Bitcoin reserve and instead do a crypto reserve, MicroStrategy decided to take matters in their own hands and create another stock to squeeze more money out of people so they can buy more Bitcoin. Honestly, if Michael Saylor wanted to, he should have just, right now, it's still good time for Michael Saylor to do the right thing and just buy XRP, not financial advice in any sort of a way. But he has a lot of money. Michael Saylor has a lot of money, an incredible amount of money, and is an incredibly intelligent man. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Michael Saylor is an incredibly intelligent man, incredibly wealthy man, but for some reason, he's stubborn. You've got to admit when you're wrong, you're wrong. And he bets on the wrong horse. The right horse to bet on was XRP, and he bet on the wrong horse. Look, it paid off for him. He made billions in profits. As I said, he's a very intelligent man and very wealthy man. But he can still bet on the right horse because the right horse is long-term. And it's cheap right now for what it's going to become. But on that topic of MicroStrategy, essentially Michael Saylor, he can bet on the right horse, and the right horse being XRP, because that is a long-term asset, and he knows it's going to be playing a very big role in America's financial services. But on the topic of XRP, Canadian asset manager files for pioneering spot XRP ETF. I'm sure some of you have heard about this news that came out today in segments or in a tweet, but here's a bit more of a brief version of what's happening in Canada. Purpose Investments, an asset manager firm that sits in Toronto as an independent, essentially of $23 billion of assets under management, has submitted paperwork with Canadian security regulators to establish the purpose of a Ripple ETF. This ETF has the objective of giving investors direct exposure to XRP because it's affiliated with Ripple Labs. The strategy of Purpose Ripple's ETF is to invest the majority of their assets in long-term XRP. Instead, it seeks to provide investors with a way to essentially make a profit in the long term without owning essentially any XRP tokens. Sam Schiff, the founder and CEO of Purpose Investments, essentially stated on the increase of institutional interest in XRP. With continued adoption and the desire of essentially regulated exposure to XRP, it appears an ETF can provide a familiar product structure for investors. Vlad, the Chief Innovation Officer of essentially Purpose Investments, commented and said that this marks another step forward for the group in its endeavor to be on the go-to and most rallied, essentially on partner when it comes to investing in crypto and digital assets, by making them accessible while helping investors to fully comprehend and invest in them more effectively. Moreover, Purpose Investments has launched two other products in the past. This is the Spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs, which highlights the essentially firm's ambitious movements of offering exposure to revolutionary digital assets and blockchain technologies through regulated investment and products. The proposed XRP ETF is essentially in tune with its strategy of since it seeks to link traditional finance to decentralized finance. The filing was made where there was with an upsurge in the application of cryptocurrencies in terms of ETF funds. Most notably, the New York Stock Exchange Akara proposed to change the investments in Grayscale's XRP Trust into essentially a spot Bitcoin ETF with essentially Coinbase's custody and custodians of BNY Mellon Asset Servicing as a transfer agent. Will they buy it as such if approved? The Purpose Ripple ETF would be the first such spot XRP ETF in the world that should give regulated means through essentially which investors can invest in XRP and enjoy its potential value. This has a bearing on the growing popularity of integrated essentially investment products and required technological assets. It's incredible news coming out of Canada. This is a massive firm, $23 billion of assets under management they have, and they chose XRP to go for an ETF. It's incredible. And one of the massive Bitcoin essentially news agencies was shocked that they chose XRP to essentially go for, but it makes sense because it has a purpose. Now, on the topic of XRP, a new era of pro-innovation regulation in the US. This is something that came from Ripple's own website today. Ripple released something on their own website. So Ripple has a blog post section on their website where they release blogs sometimes about, essentially their own data reports, because Ripple wants to show full transparency when it comes to XRP. And they show essentially data reports. They show how they're using XRP, how they're using RLUSD, which companies are they working with, and they have a blog post section. So this is from Ripple's blog post section that came out today. This is what it says. A new era of pro-innovation regulation in the US. For the first time, the US has a pro-crypto president in the White House and a pro-crypto Congress, both committed to advancing policies that support the crypto industry. This is from Ripple's own website. Within its first week in office, President Trump's administration signaled its dedication to essentially reevaluating and fostering crypto innovation in the US. President Trump signed an executive order pronouncing the important, essentially, role in terms of what crypto plays, blockchain and digital financial technology, all play inside the US economy. The executive order essentially underscores a monumental shift in the US's approach to crypto, a call for regulatory clarity through comprehensive legislations, and support for private stablecoin innovation backed by US treasuries, and ensuring open and fairness access to banking services for legal businesses. The executive order also calls for the establishment of a working group on digital asset markets, further highlighting the establishing regulatory clarity for digital asset industry is a top priority for their administration. And finally, the executive order includes a call for recommendations on the development of a US digital asset stockpile, which is what's going to be happening. Essentially, an XRP stockpile is definitely going to be happening inside the US. The US government is not only going to be buying Bitcoin as a reserve asset, they're going to be buying American blockchain projects also. I said this before, there's two outcomes. There's one, either they start with a Bitcoin essentially stockpile and then add the rest in, the American companies, which is XRP and so on, or they just started off with XRP and Bitcoin and a few other American essentially crypto projects. And starting off obviously with their seized crypto projects also. Now, also within the same week, the SEC took a significant step of essentially reciting their SAB 121, a policy widely criticized as harmful guidance that discouraged banks from partnering with crypto companies. The GAO had determined that the SAB 121 violated the rulemaking process, making its removal a positive and critical move for the industry. What Ripple is trying to do on their recent blog post that came out today on their website is trying to reassure everyone. Ripple is trying to reassure everyone that we are on a correct path right now and that things are moving. And that, just because the price of crypto projects aren't moving, it doesn't mean that the market isn't going towards a positive step. So Ripple's came out essentially trying to reassure everyone on things that have happened. Some you might have heard about and some you might have not heard about. So lastly, Gary Gensler obviously resigning as the SEC chair, replaced with the acting chairman, SEC chairman Mark, for example, who has publicly claimed that the SEC's war on crypto created confusion about what is legal and the environment hostile to innovation to fraud, essentially. More broadly, President Trump has already driven innovation and boosted essentially job growth across the US by visionary leaders such as Scott Benson, David Sachs, Paul Atkins, and others to key positions. Ripple's trying to tell you that all these people that are going to be playing a massive role inside the crypto space in America are all positive for crypto. They're also positive towards Ripple. This renowned focus on collaboration and innovation will position essentially the US to play a leading role in ensuring that crypto essentially becomes an integral part of global financial infrastructure. Global regulatory developments. In Europe, for example, Ripple said, the Markets and Crypto Assets MiCA framework officially came into effect, providing a comprehensive regulatory structure for crypto activities across the EU member states. Meanwhile, the UK unveiled essentially a detailed roadmap for cryptocurrency regulation, signaling a commitment to fostering innovation while maintaining robust consumer protections. They have, but they haven't moved forward with it, but they have, that's true. In Asia-Pacific regions, competition to become the region's crypto hub has intensified. Hong Kong's accelerated its licensing essentially process for virtual asset service providers, positioning itself as a global leader alongside Singapore. South Korea is also reevaluating its approach to crypto, reconsidering its ban on crypto ETFs aimed surging investor demands. And finally, the Abu Dhabi Global Markets Financial Services Regulatory Authority, FSARA, introduced a groundbreaking framework for fiat reference tokens like stablecoins, and notably this framework essentially includes provisions for issuing yield-bearing stablecoins, a move that could redefine the role of stablecoins in traditional and decentralized finance. For over a decade, Ripple has been leading the charge of crypto innovation, which is true. For over a decade, Ripple has been leading the charge on crypto innovation, building solutions in terms of leveraging XRP and the XRP ledger and providing crypto infrastructure for financial institutions. Ripple also publishes the quarterly XRP market reports, sharing insights on the state of crypto markets and updates on the XRP ecosystem. As the XRP holders, Ripple values open communication and trust, driving global adoption and building utility for crypto. Once again, Ripple has mentioned on their own website, essentially, that they are, utilizing XRP as they go along, and they're trying to revolutionize essentially the blockchain space with XRP and the XRP ledger. So, look, the simplest way I could put it is some of you are still waiting for the market space to show that figure point. You're trying to see if your assets will rise in value. You're waiting for that spark inside the market space. As I've said in the past few days as well, what's happening right now is they're laying in the foundation. Okay, the SEC, the CFTC, they're laying in the foundation. Trump's administration is laying in the foundation as well for America. The world is laying in the foundation, because Ripple didn't just talk about what America has achieved so far inside the crypto space to reassure everyone that we're on the right path now, but they also mentioned in terms of the global market space what's happening around us. And the world is shifting and the world is laying in the foundation, and within the first 100 days, you're going to be seeing that movement happening. And on that topic, we have reached the endings of tonight's live. So, if you're holding XRP, if you're holding XLM, if you're holding XDC, if you're holding HPO, any of these, such incredible assets inside the financial space, the foundation is being laid, and you're going to be, bringing in the profits for yourself very soon, especially for the first quarter, the second quarter, the first 100 days is where you're going to be seeing it. But a lot of people are still waiting, for example, for the case to be dropped by the SEC when it comes to Ripple. And so on. Why are they taking so long? Everything comes down to a time frame, and there's a lot of paperwork to be done as well for that case to be dismissed or dropped, but it's not going to be taking a very long time either. But it's just Ripple trying to reassure everyone. Mark, who's the acting chairman right now of the SEC, he's positive for the crypto space. He's not against Ripple. He doesn't want to extend this case. He doesn't want to do anything to this case. He just wants to dismiss it and settle it. So they're just here reassuring everyone on their own website. But if you do want to go check it out, Ripple has a blog post on their own website as well. Now, as I said, all good things must come to an end, which they have now, which means that this is the endings of tonight's live. This was episode 253 of the CMF Live. If you watch this for the first time ever, the CMF stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles, and I go by the persona of Crypto Miles. I'm the host of this live, Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time. And if you want to tune in for episode 254, tune in Monday, 11:25 p.m. UK time, because this live is only Monday to Friday. So today's the last episode. The next episode is on Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time. So, and on this slide, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. And the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So, if you're tuned in for the first time ever, I hope you enjoyed it. Drop a follow, drop a like, comment, subscribe, share, and tune in Monday to Friday at 11:25 p.m. UK time. If you're regular, thank you so much to everyone from the CMF that tunes in Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time every single night. Thanks so much to every single one of you. But before we do go, let's go start the comment section first, because there are some questions that need to be answered, I think. Spy, I am very aware that Shiba's joking. I'm sure you are aware that there's a little to no profit to be made. Sell it all and get XLP. I know, I appreciate perspectives. Spy, he knows, but he can still make profit. You never know. Fantastic live, as usual, Miles. We thank you for your time and you give us. Let's go, Joe. Joe, see you Monday. Same time as usual. Thanks, Miles. And good night, all. Stormy, let's go. See you on Monday, same time as usual. Man, the only I do not have at the moment are both Quant and IATO. I do not have enough of Ondo because today was the very first day I started investing in this particular project. Thompson, you don't need Quant or you don't really need Quant or IATO. Preferably, you could just go for XRP, XLM, XDC, and HPAR. Quant is not really needed. Quant will do, well in its own sense, but it's not, XRP, XLM, XDC, and HPAR. If you want to put profits into any assets, XRP, XLM, XDC, and HPAR is what I would say. Good night, Brother Miles and CMF. See you tomorrow. Flea XRP. See you on Monday, same time as usual. Thanks again, Matt. Thanks again. Have a great weekend, CMF. Orphan, let's go. See you on Monday, same time as usual. Thanks again for another brilliant live stream. Let's go, Thompson. Thompson, see you on Monday, same time as usual. Thanks, Legend. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Try to get some rest, Miles, and don't work too hard. Let's go, Shelly. See you on Monday, same time as usual as well. Much appreciated to you and everyone else. Let's go, Thompson. See you on Monday, same time as usual. Thanks. Let's go, Shakira. See you on Monday, same time as usual. Oh, okay, thanks. No problem, Thompson. Anytime. Once again, if you already haven't, like, comment, share, retweet, subscribe. If you watch us on X, like and comment outside the live. If you watch us on YouTube, like and comment outside the live. And subscribe if you already haven't. Tune in Monday, Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time. If you watch us on X, like, retweet, comment, and share. And follow me on X if you already haven't. And also join our X communities page, which is Crypto Mouse Family Lounge on X communities. If you already haven't, join the page as well. I'll see everybody on Monday. Same timing as usual. I have quite a bit of the following: XLM, XDC, XBAR, HBAR, Algorand, and Cardano. Great. I'll be honest. Your portfolio looks incredible, Thompson. If you want to, you can go towards a little bit of quant, but it's not really needed. Just focus on them even more, is what I would say. I'll be seeing everybody on Monday. Same timing as usual. That might be a fairly decent portfolio. That's an incredible portfolio. Well done. Honestly, incredible portfolio. Well done, Thompson. I'll see everybody on Monday. Same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. CMF, see you all on Monday. Same time as usual. Have a great day or a great night, depending on where you're around the world. Have a great weekend as well, CMF members and everybody else that's watching this right now. See you on Monday, 11:25 p.m. Same time as usual, UK time. Excellent thoughts. And got in at 0005. Great. It's doing well for itself right now, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a good. The place you entered in was great. To be fairly honest. See everybody on Monday, same time as usual, 11:25 p.m. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're on. CMF, see you on Monday, same time as usual.